Hello everyone, Nenaya Fakoya-Smith here, aka Ajala Nene, and we're here for the Tourism Virtual Summit. So we're going to be talking about global throttling. That's Nigerians who like traveling out of the nation. The idea is, how do we promote tourism as we go out to these people? How do we promote Nigeria as we go out to these people? And I have here Rosemary. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you and welcome to our summit. So please tell us more about yourself.
Okay, so everybody calls me Rory to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm an architect and founder of TripZap. TripZap is a lifestyle travel company that curates experiences, both local and international, that kind of help people easily navigate and seamlessly explore different places, both in Africa and around the world. So yeah, that's pretty much it about me.
Okay, so now we're talking about global throttling. How can you define that? What does it mean?
So the word is a bit, overplayed. Globetrotting is like some, beautiful word for some select few people. But for me, it's just people who have that flair and the spirit to discover, who are unafraid to take the challenge and go on an adventure to discover things that are outside their comfort zone. I think that for me is what the word means, more so than the flamboyant, we're just, I'm a globetrotter, This is more than that. I think it's self-reflective of your adventure spirit, your wanderlust, your sense of adventure, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, why should Nigerians that travel, who are globetrotters, why should they be seen as a key value creator for the Nigerian tourism ecosystem? I mean, what value do they add to the Nigerian tourism system?
Okay, so I think you can look at it in two ways in terms of, and again, I think from what you're saying, it's more so how people start to, how they add value to people who are looking at Nigeria, if I hear you correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for me, there's so many, the value is immense in terms of changing the perception of Nigeria as a whole. So it's a very, every individual, it seems like a tiny little, I can't really do much. But for every globetrotter, leaving your country and representing as a good individual in another country tells a different story, rewrites the story of what your country is to everybody else. You start redefining your country, you start saying to them, well, I don't swing on trees, we're in Africa, but no, we don't swing on trees. I'm learned, I speak proper English, that's our actual language, and all of these things, because, you travel, I travel. So, you've gotten the weird questions, like, you probably even lived abroad and you get things like, oh, are there wild elephants where you live? I've gotten that, like, straight up, like, oh, are there wild elephants roaming the street? I'm like, I don't understand, your houses are small. And this is like, we live in big houses here, So I think it's, and in fact, I would go back to even the last trip I was on where we were doing spot the black people, because there were no black people anywhere around for miles. We're probably like the only black people around. And so when people say, where are you from? You say Nigeria. It's interesting because everybody has kind of heard of Nigeria. Somebody has some connections, somebody, something, somewhere in Nigeria, but they don't have a good story or, of the country. And so while you're there and you are sitting properly in a restaurant and you're eating and you're going on all these tours and, you're actually exploring like just every other person, you start changing the narrative. And I think for me, that's the most powerful thing. And that's when you now start, once you've made a friend, once you've made contacts, once you're going out there, you're assimilating and you're connecting with all these kinds of people, and then they say, oh, okay, it's that's cool, that's great, and then they follow you on Instagram and social media, and they're like, oh, it's normal, she's driving. And it means a tiny little ripple effect, but I think that's really, it's a huge value add for the Nigerian tourism industry.
I love the way you have answered this question, because it's the truth. The representation we have outside is very funny. Like, my uncle went to China And because he's the only tall black person there, they want to touch him. Are you real? I mean, like, are you and if we can represent ourselves outside other people as travelers, then that would be really awesome for us. So thanks for breaking that answer down.
Sure.
All right. Okay, so our next question is this. Now, I know you package a lot of tours, right? So would there's something called immerse travel. You try to immerse yourself in people's culture. So would creating local immerse travel packages for both Nigerians and international travelers who come to Nigeria, would it bring a positive shift in both the local and global perceptions and progressions of the impact of Nigerian tourism in the world generally?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think more so than just, okay, so one of the major challenges, and I guess I can even, broaden this a bit more with not just Nigeria, but in a lot of African countries, and especially even West Africa predominantly, is navigation and information is scarce, when it comes to travel, and which is what really deters people from coming. It's not necessarily, there's the bad press, there's all of that. You Google Nigeria, or you Google this, and then you start seeing all kinds of weird things. But more than that is the lack of these experiences or these. So, if you Google New York, the first thing you'll probably see is the Brooklyn Bridge, and you'd see something about going to the Brooklyn Bridge or or Staten Island, or all of these things. And and then you start seeing tours, book a tour, book a trip, book a this, and it's easier. You can think about going just because there's so much information. Now, we've had people who've managed to come here, who are, foreigners who've come into the country, and they tell you, and this is prior to the visa and arrival thing, which is actually not open to everybody.
Not everybody.
No, it's not. It's meant to be for business and comfort, people that are coming into the country to maybe invest or coming for a conference, business affiliated people. But yeah, it's not generally open to everybody at the moment. But so we'd hear how, it was so hard to find a tour, and they're so lucky they found one. And so once you have these, even as much as you get to a hotel in anywhere else you go, in Dubai and this and that, and right there, the concierge is telling you about, you can go to here, you can do this, you can do that. There's just a culture for it. So once we create that culture of, we have these tours, we have these experiences, we have that they won't find their way around, they're going to be stuck in a hotel. What's the point of visiting somewhere if you're going to be stuck in a hotel and you can't go anywhere and it's maybe not safe? And the good thing too about tours and curated experiences is it provides a safe environment where you've done little work to figure out what's going on. It just looks nice. Oh, okay, I'm going to see this. And that's great. So great, let me do that. Somebody else will worry about how to get me there, what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to do. Great, awesome, I'm going to have a great time. And that's the value, that's what you're adding. And if the more we have that, the more people then start to look in. And once you start Googling the place, you start seeing things like, oh, okay, I can see that. Oh, I didn't know this was in this country. I didn't know this. And then people start looking to come. So I think those experiences, immersive, whether even commercial, like the mainstream one, like, oh, okay, I'm going to do the bus tour. You know how you go to, then there's the city bus tour, it's the commercial ones, but still, those things make it seem a bit more comfortable for people to say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm coming. It's great. It's normal. It's, you're supposed to know information on anything, So,
I totally understand where you're coming from. Like the keke stuff you guys did, with who did you do it with again? Was it the deck?
With the Yellow of Lagos?
The Yellow of Lagos. That was really a lovely package. So you can imagine if someone sees a blog write-up about that, or sees a package of that kind of thing, they're like, oh, this is something I can experience, because no people know.
And interestingly, we've had a lot of people who booked that after that privately, and they just, that's what they want to do. It's like, oh my God, yeah, because on a normal day, they will come in and not know how to get on the keke, I'm not sure it's safe, or it looks rowdy or whatever. But now you get to do that, and it's like, oh yeah, I did that. I took a picture, great. So.
Yeah, I totally understand. That's really very nice. Okay, our next question. Now, what are the challenges? What are the existing challenges with promoting Nigerian tourism by Nigerian globe throttlers? What are those challenges? Any names?
By Nigerian who?
by Nigerian travelers, what are the challenges existing to promote Nigeria by Nigerian travelers?
Also, I think the question actually kind of has to be a bit more specific as to who you're targeting and promoting Nigerian tourism. So there's either you're promoting them to Nigerian travelers or you're promoting them to people, foreigners coming into Nigeria. Now, one of the major challenges, we have no sort of, infrastructure for this industry. And I say that's not just like, oh, roads or whatever. I mean, as a system, there isn't your general, what's the word for it? You know, how you have registered, this is a registered tour operator, this is this is that. Yeah. So, and then you have places where they operate out of, and so in some way the government is tying all of these things together. So tourism, flights, all of these things start being tied in together. At the airport, there's information, there are tour operators, all of those kind of things are there as support for that industry. And so you can promote in not just being on social media, because at the moment, what people are trying to do is be on social media. And that is not the most effective place to reach, especially foreign visitors, because in your social space, it's mostly people in that particular geographic location that are looking at you and interacting with you. A foreigner who has never visited Nigeria is most likely not going to find you on Instagram, which has become the major platform because it's very visual, and so you're missing out on that side of things. Now, when it comes to promoting to Nigerian travelers, your challenge will then be just kind of shifting people's minds into understanding that you can travel in Nigeria. Now, it's a culture change that I guess in the last maybe 3 years, we're starting to see that people have been, first by the travelers who are traveling within Nigeria, and then the travel companies that are pushing tours within Nigeria. People are starting slowly to think of it as an alternative to traveling abroad, or as a cost-effective solution to a holiday, But even then, there's still that turnaround. You're still trying to change people's minds. You're still trying to, create a culture change. Now, when it then comes to the flexibility of traveling, even for a Nigerian traveler, it turns out and works out economically more cost-effective to go with a group. And that's not something that necessarily everybody's going to buy into jumping into a trip with other people. And more than just buying into that, it's also, does my time work? Do I find another friend who's going to go with me? I might be left out in the group. All of these things that are not generally, Nigerians are not necessarily the immersive travelers, the explorers that will go and climb up the mountain somewhere, not generally. So we'd want to party. So which is why I keep saying it's a bit of a culture change. Now, if you even find the small sect of people who want to explore things, they're limited by funds in terms of, if I want to go by myself, going by myself and booking a tour with someone would cost me a whole lot, because if I'm going to get a car chartered and a guide who's going to go with me, you'll start getting to the price of leaving the country, So it's all of there's so many different challenges. So in terms, even with the foreign travelers as well, it can look expensive to them. So for instance, if you're in Lagos as a visitor to Lagos, and you say, I want to go to the falls in Osun State or something, and you're going to go by yourself, it's going to start costing you anywhere from $400. And does that now start making so much sense as a thing to do? So if we had all the other support facilities, say you had a train system or good road network, then it starts becoming a bit more commercial, a bit more economic, a bit more, I can wrap my head around it. I can say, okay, let me go. I can get on board and do this. So these are a lot of challenges. There's so many different things, but I personally think that these are some of the major ones. Just as a culture, it's not necessarily our thing. And economically, there's so many things working against the system. And even in creating these experiences, all these tour companies are, building from scratch. as opposed to, this place has a site, and it has maybe a nice eatery here, and it has maybe a nice sleep place here. Everything kind of works together. That's not the case. You have to build these things from scratch. Okay, I found this place here. I'm going to find another thing here, and then attach all these things together to create one good experience. So it's quite tough, but
we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there slowly.
Slowly.
All right. So now let's tell us a bit about TripZap. That's your company, and how you're really helping to promote tourism in your own way.
TripZap is a lifestyle travel company to begin with, and what that means is we try to promote the culture of building travel into your everyday routine. The idea of exploring, going on an adventure, just exploring even your city, discovering new things, and that it is not as expensive as people just imagine. Like, I have to travel, and traveling must be going, over the seas to somewhere. So it's just creating that culture to begin with, and start from, and as a base point, what we do is try to put out as much information through social media, giving more information on all of these different places, on destinations that you didn't know were at your doorstep, places in Africa, for instance, that people didn't know they could go to, visa-free destinations around the world that you didn't know you could go to with your Nigerian passport, all those kind of things. And it's sorry?
You said passport, there's some places that people don't know they can go to, so it's good to know without visa. So, yeah. Exactly.
That is very key, because a lot of people don't know, and there are quite a few ways to get around these visa hassles that people just don't know. So TripZap curates experiences, puts out all this information, creates the culture of the travel lifestyle, and then offers these experiences that make it easy for you to navigate. So you don't have to hurt your head. You don't have to start figuring it out today, how to get to I don't know, Macedonia, for instance. You don't have to figure out how to get to Alaska. We'll figure it out for you. You don't have to figure out how to get to South America. We'll figure it out for you. And so you're buying an experience. You're buying the experience that just takes you there. Hotel is sorted. You're going to do this on day 1, do this on day 2, do this on day 3. And it's both local and international. Our major focus, particularly this year, I don't know if you've seen around our This is Africa campaign, is promoting Africa. So from Nigeria to Kenya to anywhere, all the different beautiful places in Africa and all the different things that they have to offer, which people don't realize. You have Alps in Africa. People just don't realize that there's all kinds of things that can be obtained here. You can go whitewater rafting, you can skydive, scuba dive. Most things are still attained in Africa, and people just don't know. So it's promoting that, and also creating value for people to come into Africa to visit. So we have local experiences here where lots of foreigners come in, and it's just so much easier. They get picked up from their hotel and get taken to different places to explore, and it's so much more of a richer experience for them. It makes their trip all the more memorable. Sometimes we even have like hotel guests, wedding guests who come in, and the couple are so thoughtful enough to plan for their guests to have all these experiences while they're in Lagos, so that they're booked, okay, day 1, you guys are going to do this, day 2, and it takes all the stress out of it. Imagine you're having a wedding and you have to start thinking, oh, I'll get a bus, I'll take this person here and this and that. But all that stress is gone. All they know is someone's going to come pick their guests up, 20 of them, 30 of them, whatever, take them, feed them, take care of them, show them around, and we just have a lovely time. And so that's what we are. That's the value that we're creating. That's what we're offering people, is stress-free travel to pretty much anywhere around the world. So you just click a button, find something that is within your budget and is what you want to do, and you just go. So it's all of that, and we start also creating content for African travel. Again, putting that information, changing the narrative that has to do with African travel, particularly. So yeah, that's TripZap.
Wow, that's a lot though, and you guys are doing a good job. At least I follow what you guys have been doing, and I'm very impressed. And
thank you very much.
Do keep up the good work, and thank you so much for being at this summit. I really appreciate it, and for shedding light on how we Nigerians who travel a lot can actually promote our nation in our own little way. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All
You're
right,
most
then.
welcome.
All right, take care.
All right.
Bye. Bye.